Close your eyes for a second. Think of your biggest regret. That one decision, that one moment where if you could turn back time, you'd do everything differently. Maybe it was a love you walked away from, a dream you abandoned, a word you never said. And now, no matter how much time passes, your brain won't let it go. It replays like a broken record, whispering, you should have known better. You should have acted differently. But why? Why does your mind torture you like this? And more importantly, how do you make it stop? Regret isn't just an emotion, it's a neurological trap. When scientists scanned the brains of people dwelling on regrets, they found something startling. The same regions that light up during physical pain also activate when we feel deep regret. That's right, your brain processes regret as if it's a wound. And just like a wound, the more you poke it, the longer it takes to heal. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Your brain has a built-in mechanism called the counterfactual thinking system. It constantly generates what-if scenarios, imagining alternate realities where things went differently. This was useful for survival. Early humans who regretted eating poisonous berries or trusting the wrong tribe member were more likely to survive. But in the modern world, this system misfires. Instead of protecting us, it tortures us with endless replays of past mistakes. And the worst part? The regrets that haunt us the most aren't the things we did, they're the things we didn't do. Studies show that inaction regrets, the risks we didn't take, the words we didn't say, linger far longer than mistakes we made in action. Why? Because while time proves that bad decisions heal, unlived lives stay frozen in imagination, taunting us with infinite possibilities. Have you ever noticed how some regrets fade, while others cling to you like shadows? Psychologists discovered that the most persistent regrets share two traits. First, they involve personal agency, you believe you could have acted differently. And second, they represent lost potential, the version of you that never got to exist because of that one choice. This creates a dangerous loop in your mind called rumination, where your brain obsessively replays the past, searching for closure that never comes. And the more you ruminate, the deeper you etch that regret into your neural pathways. It's like a mental prison where you're both the inmate and the jailer. But here's the truth your brain doesn't want you to know: regret is an illusion of control. You think if you replay it enough, you'll somehow fix it. But the past doesn't change. The only thing that changes is your present, stolen by a ghost that no longer exists. If regret only lived in the past, it wouldn't be so destructive. But neuroscience shows that chronic regret physically rewires your brain. Every time you revisit a regret, you strengthen the neural connections associated with it, making it easier for your mind to default to pain. Over time, this creates a negativity bias where your brain instinctively searches for regrets, mistakes, and losses even when good things happen. And the consequences? Higher cortisol levels, the stress hormone, weakened immune response, and even accelerated cellular aging. Regret isn't just emotional, it's biological warfare against your future self. So how do you escape this mental trap? The first step is acceptance without surrender. Most people either 1. Suppress regrets, which makes them stronger, or 2. Drown in them, which makes them permanent. The solution? Acknowledge the regret, then reframe its meaning. Here's how: ask yourself, what did this regret teach me? Asterisk, maybe that failed relationship taught you self-respect. That career mistake led you to your true calling. Regret is tuition you paid in pain. Don't waste the lesson. Asterisk. Next, practice opposite action. If you regret not taking risks, force yourself to take small, uncomfortable steps. If you regret lost time, do the thing now. Action rewires your brain's addiction to rumination. Finally, try mental time travel. Write a letter to your past self. Forgive them. Then write a letter from your future self, thanking you for letting go. This tricks your brain into releasing the past. Neuroscience reveals a powerful trick. Your brain can't distinguish between vividly imagined scenarios and real ones. So if you visualize an alternate reality where things went right, your brain processes it as partial closure. Try this. Close your eyes. Picture the better version of your regret. You took the chance, you spoke up, you chose differently. Sit with that feeling. Do this daily and watch regret loosen its grip. Let's take a step back and ask, why is regret so much more paralyzing today than it was for our ancestors? Because we live in an age of infinite options. For most of human history, people stayed in the same village, followed the same trade, married the same neighbor. Choices were limited. Regrets were simpler. I shouldn't have eaten those berries, or I should have listened to the shaman's warning. But now, every decision branches into endless possibilities, and with that comes the tyranny of choice. Think about it. Your ancestors never lay awake wondering if they should have been a digital nomad in Bali instead of an accountant in Ohio. They never scrolled through Instagram comparing their lives to polished highlight reels of people they'll never meet. This is what psychologists call the paradox of choice. The more options we have, the more we believe there's a perfect path, and the more we blame ourselves for not finding it. And here's where social media twists the knife. Platforms are designed to show you roads not taken, ex-friends thriving, ex-partners happy, careers you could have pursued. It's a 24/7 feed of alternative realities, fueling the regret loop. Your brain didn't evolve for this. It evolved for tangible, immediate threats, not existential dread over a life you didn't live. Ever notice how certain regrets flare up at random times? A song, a smell, a place, suddenly you're right back there. This isn't random. Memory works through emotional association, and regrets tied to unmet needs, love, validation, purpose resurface when those needs go unfulfilled in the present. For example, if you regret not pursuing music, hearing a guitar riff might trigger a wave of what if, not because of the past, but because right now your life lacks creative expression. Regret is a mirror. It shows you what you're still hungry for. The key isn't to silence it, it's to ask. What is this regret trying to tell me about my present? This is why time doesn't heal all wounds. If a regret is unprocessed, if you never extracted its lesson or took corrective action, it lingers like an open file in your brain, draining mental RAM. But when you use regret as fuel, when you let it guide you toward what you still need, it transforms from a chain to a compass. Here's a brutal truth: sometimes the reason you can't let go of a regret is because you're still investing in it. This is called the sunk cost fallacy, the irrational urge to keep pouring energy into something simply because you've already lost so much. You stay in a dead-end job because you've spent years there. You cling to a toxic relationship because of the time invested. You refuse to pivot because it would mean admitting the past was a waste. But think about this: if you bought a concert ticket and got food poisoning, would you force yourself to go just because you paid for it? Of course not. Yet with life, we do this constantly. We let past decisions dictate future suffering because we're afraid to lose what we've already lost. The way out? Ask, if I met myself today with no history, would I choose this again? If the answer is no, it's time to stop paying for the same mistake twice. The most dangerous regrets aren't the ones you have, they're the ones you identify with. I'm the person who gave up on their dream. I'm the one who ruined their marriage. When regret becomes part of your identity, it's no longer about changing the past, it's about protecting a story where you're the villain. And the mind will fight to keep that story alive because identity is survival. This is why some people resist letting go of regret, because without it, they'd have to ask, who am I now? It's terrifying to release the narrative of the one who failed because at least failure is familiar. Reinvention is uncharted territory. But here's the secret: you are not your regrets. They are data points, not definitions. And the moment you stop letting them narrate your life, you reclaim the power to rewrite it. Not all regrets scream. Some whisper so quietly you don't notice them until decades later. These are the slow-burn regrets. The friendships you neglected because you were too busy. The hobbies you dismissed as unproductive. The small joys you postponed for a someday that never came. These regrets don't hit like a gut punch, they seep in like fog, leaving a vague sense of, is this all there is? Why are these so insidious? Because they're not tied to a single decision but to a pattern of neglecting what truly matters. The antidote? Preemptive gratitude. Start asking now, what will future me wish I'd paid attention to today? Then act on it. The best way to avoid regret isn't to obsess over the past, it's to honor the present while it's still here. We've all seen those motivational posters, no regrets. Just lessons. It sounds empowering, but it's psychological gaslighting. Regret isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of consciousness. Only robots and psychopaths live without remorse. The goal isn't to erase regret, it's to metabolize it, to let it inform you without imprisoning you. Toxic positivity tells you to just move on, but real healing requires sitting with the discomfort long enough to understand its message. Pretending you don't care is just another form of avoidance. The middle path? I regret this and I honor what it taught me. Now I choose to act differently. That's how regret becomes wisdom instead of weight. Here's a radical idea from quantum physics: the past isn't fixed. No, you can't change events, but you can change what they mean. Every time you recall a memory, you're not replaying a recording, you're reconstructing it. And with each reconstruction, you have the power to reframe it. For example, that stupid risk you took that failed? Reconstruct it as the brave experiment that taught me resilience. That relationship that ended? The necessary bridge to my self-worth. This isn't self-delusion, it's neuroplasticity. Your brain updates memories based on how you contextualize them. The past is clay, not stone. And you hold the chisel. Right now, you're probably convinced you know exactly what you'll regret on your deathbed. But studies on end-of-life regrets reveal a shocking pattern. People rarely regret failures, they regret fears. Not the jobs they lost, but the jobs they didn't apply for. Not the rejections they faced, but the love they didn't confess. The safe choices are the ones that haunt them. So here's a challenge, project yourself forward. Ask, what will 80-year-old me wish I dared to do now? Then, and this is crucial, act as if that future regret is already real. Because one day, it will be. And the only way to prevent it is to live backward from that moment. Let's talk about what happens when regret isn't just an occasional visitor but a permanent resident in your mind. This is the regret spiral, where one regret leads to another, creating a domino effect of self-recrimination. You start with, I shouldn't have quit that job, which morphs into, I wouldn't be in debt if I'd stayed, which then becomes, I'm such a failure for being in this position. Notice how the regret expands? It's no longer about a single decision but becomes a sweeping indictment of your entire life path. This spiral happens because of how memory works in associative networks. One memory triggers another related memory, which triggers another. Your brain isn't just recalling that one regrettable moment, it's downloading every connected negative thought, emotion, and self-judgment you've ever had about yourself. Before you know it, you're not just regretting a decision, you're regretting your entire existence. Here's where it gets really insidious. Regret doesn't just haunt your past, it sabotages your future. Ever noticed how after dwelling on past mistakes, you feel paralyzed to make new decisions? That's the regret procrastination loop. Your brain thinks, last time I took a risk, it blew up in my face. Better play it safe this time. So you hesitate. You delay. You become what psychologists call regret-averse, so terrified of future regret that you refuse to choose at all. But here's the cruel irony. By avoiding decisions to prevent regret, you're creating the exact conditions for the worst kind of regret, the regret of inaction. Studies show that while the pain of bad decisions fades, the agony of missed opportunities grows stronger with time. Your brain is trying to protect you from regret, but it's actually manufacturing more of it. Now let's talk about how modern life supercharges regret through constant social comparison. Your brain has what scientists call a comparison circuitry. It's constantly measuring your life against others. In ancestral times, this helped you learn from tribe members. Today, it's a regret-generating machine as you compare your behind-the-scenes with everyone else's highlight reels. But here's what's fascinating. Research shows we don't compare ourselves to everyone equally. We compare upward to people doing better and downward to people doing worse. When you're feeling good, you compare downward to feel superior. But when regret hits, you compare upward, and the gap between where you are and where you could be feels unbearable. This is why regret often strikes at 2 a.m. when you're scrolling LinkedIn or Instagram. Your comparison engine is in overdrive. Let's go deeper into the biology. Why do some regrets leave physical sensations, that pit in your stomach, that tightness in your chest? It's because emotional pain activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. When you recall a deep regret, your anterior cingulate cortex, the brain's pain center, lights up as if you're being physically harmed. Even more disturbing, chronic regret triggers low-grade inflammation throughout your body. It's not just in your head, it's in your cells. The stress hormones released during regret episodes, cortisol, norepinephrine, actually accelerate cellular aging. Telomeres, the protective caps on your DNA, shorten faster in people who ruminate on regrets. In very real ways, living in regret is quite literally aging you prematurely. Here's the ultimate paradox about regret. The more you try to avoid it, the more you create it. People who say, I live with no regrets are often the ones accumulating the most future regrets. Why? Because they're not learning from mistakes. They're either in denial or repeating the same patterns. True regret mastery isn't about eliminating regret, that's impossible. It's about developing what psychologists call regret resilience, the ability to experience regret without being destroyed by it. Think of it like immunity. You don't avoid all germs, you build an immune system that can handle them. Ever noticed how time behaves strangely when you're stuck in regret? That moment from 5 years ago feels like it happened yesterday, while last week's joys feel distant. This is called time perspective distortion. Regret warps your sense of time, making painful memories feel unnervingly present while happy ones fade. Your brain does this through something called emotional salience. Events tied to strong emotions, especially negative ones, get tagged as important and are recalled more vividly. The stronger the emotion, the more present the memory feels regardless of when it actually occurred. This is why regret can make you feel psychologically stuck in the past. Your brain keeps bringing old wounds into your present moment. Many people report vivid dreams where they relive their regrets, showing up unprepared for an exam they took years ago, being back with an ex-partner, etc. These aren't random. REM sleep is when your brain processes emotional memories. When you have unresolved regret, your sleeping mind keeps trying to solve it through these simulations. What's remarkable is that these dreams might actually be your brain's attempt at exposure therapy. By replaying the scenario in a safe environment, sleep, it's trying to desensitize you to the emotional charge. The problem occurs when you wake up and misinterpret these dreams as signs you should still be dwelling on the regret, rather than recognizing them as part of your brain's healing process. Not all cultures experience regret the same way. Western individualistic societies tend to have more intense personal regrets because we emphasize personal agency. You create your own destiny. In more collectivist cultures, regret is often shared or diffused across family/social networks. There's less I should have and more we might have. Even language reflects this. Some languages don't even have an exact equivalent for regret as we conceive it, instead having words that blend remorse, learning, and communal responsibility. This suggests that how we experience regret isn't just psychological. It's deeply cultural. The good news? If regret is partly learned, it can be unlearned or at least reframed. Your brain has a nasty habit of using current dissatisfaction to retroactively poison past memories. For example, if you're unhappy in your career now, you might start remembering that you never actually liked your college major even if you were passionate about it at the time. This is called retrospective regret, your present feelings rewriting your past. This creates a feedback loop. Current unhappiness breeds regret about the past, which then makes you feel worse in the present, which then makes the past seem even worse in hindsight. It's a psychological Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. Breaking this cycle requires recognizing when your memories are being emotionally hijacked by your present mood. When we talk about overcoming regret, we must talk about forgiveness, not just of others, but of yourself. Brain scans show that genuine forgiveness, including self-forgiveness, activates the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, your brain's reasoning center, while deactivating the amygdala, your fear and emotional reaction center. This explains why forgiveness feels so hard in the moment but so liberating afterward. You're literally changing your brain's architecture from emotional reactivity to rational understanding. The process isn't about excusing actions, but about transferring the memory from the emotional to the narrative part of your brain, where it becomes a story you've learned from rather than a wound that still bleeds. Here's an unexpected twist. Regret can be creative fuel. Many groundbreaking artists, writers, and innovators channel their regrets into their work. The key difference? They don't just ruminate, they alchemize. They take the emotional energy of regret and redirect it into creation. This works because creativity requires tension, the gap between what is and what could be. Sound familiar? That's exactly the psychological space regret occupies. The people who harness this best aren't those without regrets, but those who use regret as propulsion rather than paralysis. Their mantra isn't, "I wish I hadn't," but, "Because of this, I will." Let's get metaphysical for a moment. Quantum physics suggests all possible realities exist simultaneously until observed. While this might sound like sci-fi, it offers a fascinating lens for regret. Every what if you agonize over might exist in some parallel universe. The version of you that took that job, married that person, moved to that city. They're all out there experiencing their own regrets about paths not taken. This isn't to say regret isn't real, but to highlight that no single path is inherently superior. Every choice creates its own constellation of joys and sorrows. The you in this timeline isn't missing out on some perfect alternate life, because no such life exists. Every path contains its own regrets. The goal isn't to have no regrets, but to choose which regrets you can live with. So where does this leave us? Regret isn't your enemy, it's a compass. It shows you where you've been, what you valued, and what still needs healing. But a compass is only useful if you're moving forward. The past is a place to visit, not to live in. Your mistakes don't define you, your response to them does. The next time regret whispers in your ear, don't ignore it. Don't drown in it. Listen, learn, and then turn your gaze forward. Because the life you're meant to live isn't behind you, it's waiting for you to take the next step. Now tell me, what's one regret you're ready to stop carrying? Drop it in the comments. Let's release it together. If this resonated with you, hit like, it helps others find this message. And subscribe for more content that helps you master your mind. See you in the next one.